Are we recording? I think we are. Hello and welcome to my sixth podcast for this class. Today we're talking about the world around us and how we as a species affect the world. When talking about affecting the world, I mean more in a sense of trying to save the world. How are we coming up with more advancements in biotechnology? How are we trying to make a better environment with the way we go about engineering new systems? How are we trying to save older systems that we may have been destroying that we really need to survive in this world? Let's go into bioengineering and some ethics that go into this area. When talking about bioengineering, the question is brought up about what is ethical and what isn't ethical. I know people don't like when you limit what they feel could be revolutionary or an advancement, but there are lines that definitely shouldn't be crossed. I think that laws should definitely be put in place, even though some people may still try to cross these lines when they have a much harder time accomplishing their goals when outside the law. Biotechnology is something that is looked at to be very scary, especially if there's a new development that leads to a botched clinical or a deadly allergic reaction. It's very easy to be afraid of something when you can see a direct result of something bad happening to a person, compared to something like a computer where there are very few limitations that you do have with it. Some downsides would be security of your computer, or certain groups of people don't have the same access to the information. Biotechnology is something that could cure fibrosis or even diabetes. And with this being said, I understand that it's difficult sometimes to see past certain effects that something might have, but within the context of bioengineering, I feel that it's very important and necessary to keep diving deeper into it. Of course, there's limitations that you should have and that everybody should have around the world. And even though that would be hard to regulate, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't try to regulate. And that goes more into like, who gets to decide whether we will control a new biotechnology and who has that authority? During the debate in the U.S. Congress on bills to ban human cloning in 2001, Congressman Ted Strickland of Ohio insisted that we be guided strictly by the best available science, and that we should not allow theology, philosophy, or politics to interfere with the decision we make on the issue. I would even agree with this statement because I feel that mainly political agendas aren't really for the people, but for the politician to be put in a position of power. It should be looked at logically and with input from the scientific community who have the most knowledge on the subject itself. They also bring up the argument that women should have total say over certain biotechnological advancements such as in vitro or other childbearing advancements instead of male doctor committees. Although I do agree with this statement, I don't fully think it's correct. I think that women should have a large say in what happens, especially when it involves their bodies. But within the context of biotechnologies, I don't think they should have a total say. Let's talk a little bit more about the human world around us and how we build societies. In chapter 6 of Human Built World, the author discusses the ethical implications of biotechnology and energy use. In particular, he argues that society must be careful not to overuse these technologies and to assure that they are used in a way that benefits everyone. And I think that's important. We have to look at a bigger picture. We can't see a problem and say, here's a fix, here's a fix, here's a fix. We got to think about it as a whole. and really try to find an answer that satisfies as many problems that we have at once. When talking about ecological systems, we need to discuss the formation of new buildings and the structures of ecosystems, of the things we are building and how they affect nature around us. If what we're building destroying the waterways? Are the roads taking and contaminating fresh water? How can we make a world around us that satisfies the needs of ourselves without it destroying the world around us? In the book Human Built World, they talk a little bit about the Everglades and how we made a plan to restore the damages that was created. The Everglades, which was a major source of water for people, seemed to be drying up, and this would simply be terrible for everyone around it. They needed the water for farming and other uses, so a plan was devised that would cost at least $7.8 billion. And it goes much more into depth, but the first step was to move engineering, buildings, and roads, restricting the movement of the River of Glass, which was a certain portion of the Everglades. After that, they would conserve water at certain times of the year when it wasn't really needed, and use more water during dry times. The plan seemed to be decent in my eyes. I found the fact that engineers and environmental scientists worked together to make this plan. It's interesting because this isn't usually the case. The two groups usually don't work together, and I think that this kind of teamwork is necessary for a better future. Sustainability is a major topic in today's society, and is something that is looked at as something that could bring us down as a society. When you think about global warming and how it's affecting everything around us, we must bring up the question of sustainability as a whole. It's a tricky topic, though. Is anything truly sustainable? I definitely believe it is up to a certain point. Obviously, nothing will last forever, but we can put a foot forward and make the things that will last as long as possible while also having less of a footprint on the earth. With this information, though, what it is that we want to make sustainable. With this information, though, what is it that we want to make sustainable? Nature, life support, or the community? What is to be developed? People, the economy, or society? These are all very interesting topics, but I believe that we should try to find an equal balance between these, and that this would really bring us a step forward compared to what I believe we've been doing is a lot of steps backwards in the last couple of years. As a society, we really need to look at this and try to figure it out.